Best scene, it's a nightmare. Interior Bob's office, Winkin City, day. An ornate tabernacle sits in a spot of light atop a long work surface that spans a screen wall. Several hover chairs face this altar. There are no windows in Winkin City. Bob claps his hands. Nothing happens. He stamps his foot and the screens all change to looping images of girl stones. Green, pink, scarlet, yellow, silver, blue, vermilion, gray, white, and gold.
Sit.
Bubba, Mina, and Dee Dee move toward the hover chairs. Bob rushes past them as if it were a race. He slides into the most comfortable chair, and he raises his arms in triumph as if he's won. He elevates his chair several inches by way of a lever under the arm. He's looking down on the Bubbas.
So, you had an accident. Oops. Most citizens would have put it in a girl's sack and drowned it right away. Some dropped them into waste bins for recycling. It's just one of many useful suggestions printed right on the stone chart under troubleshooting. It's how I handled it when the issue arose for me. I find it gets easier with practice.
Mina frowns. She's fingering the arm of her chair, hoping there's a lever there too.
Novel idea, keeping a girl. How eccentric of you. Oh, but I forget. You don't even have a wall screen.
Bob points and sniggers. Bubba just nods, which irritates Bob.
The vault here is embellished with precious stones, expressively to awe. The Night Mare has determined that awe and spirituality both work the hypothalamus sector of the brain in the same way, and thus are readily interchangeable. Let's get to it, shall we?
Bob flourishes a black hide case from the inner breast pocket of his uniform jacket in a practiced move. The lid of the case pops open, and pale blue gloves slurp from the pink goo. They open themselves, ready to receive Bob's hands. He slides his hands in. Then he checks both gloves for rents and tears. A noticeable amount of anxiety sweat beads on his brow.
A former stone agent let a girl stone graze his bare wrist, and his head exploded. I was the officer in charge of the cleanup. Messy. I was promoted after it was determined that the spare gloves fit only my hands. It's a fatal for men to touch the girl stones directly. A boy tried once, and his arm was eaten by the stone demon set there by the Night Mare to guard against such fraud.
Mina's eyes widen at the notion of a demon in the stone bag. Bob places his blue-gloved hands on the vault, which glows red and shakes violently in response. Bob's eyes bulge out of their sockets, his mouth o's, his hair pops wild, and green steam whistles from both his ears. The vault explodes open like an old-world carny tent, with a burst of tinny music and a blaze of smoke and mirrors. When the smoke clears, there's a mauve bag suspended from a delicate gilded stand.
The ritual is sequential. Missteps can result in minor explosions, and once or twice the loss of an opposable digit, usually the girl's.
Bob closes his eyes. He gyrates his blue-gloved hands portentously.
Mumbus jumbus, hocusy pocusy.
Mina narrows eyes at him. Intercut. Mina imagines 1. Bob drives a thin blade through another man's heart. 2. A schoolboy falls from a rooftop. 3. A greeter with blue-gloved thumbs pressed at her larynx. Interior Bob's office continuous. Bob slides the mauve bag nearer to Mina. He taps the stand with his pinky finger, once for luck and twice more because it's what the ritual demands.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. That's what little girls are made of. Cheese by the pound to make her round. What piques a young man's fancy. What kind of hag we consult the bag? 3 stones to tell us all.
The bag opens its drawstring mouth and it ripples. It turns its sinister gaping maw in Mina's direction.
Reach in, girl.
Bob looks at Mina for the first time and she smiles at him. Without any regard to his thoughts, Bob smiles too. Bob has never smiled before. Bob looks naked smiling there. He's embarrassed by his smile, vulnerable. He turns away from Mina to recover himself. While Mina reaches into the bag, her arm disappears all the way up to her shoulder, though the bag looks hardly deep enough to graze her wrist. Mina's face registers surprise as stones rush to her hand. Bob clears his throat with impatience, and Mina pulls a yellow stone from the bag.
Yellow, wild child. extroverted youth followed by death or great wisdom, a low-scoring stone.
Bob sucks his teeth in mock sadness, and he points to a metal chain, not unlike a dog collar, on the tabletop. Mina places the stone next to the chain, and it sucks the stone to it.
Pull again.
Interior inside the bag, continuous. Mina's large hand hangs in the ether of a dark galaxy. Colorful stones whirl around it. Lila, a small, shiny-skinned red demon with a pointy tail and protruding fangs, lolls in this odd landscape.
They call me Lila. Take your time, sweetie. I don't get out much. There's no ventilation in here, and the vault is very cramped. You know, too much fro-fro. Why do they assume females want to be surrounded by doilies?
Get on with it, girl.
Cut 2, interior Bob's office, continuous. Mina pulls a vermilion stone from the bag. She places it next to the yellow stone, and it too is sucked to the chain.
Vermilion, trial by fire. Lessons will be learned firsthand. She's fit for nothing stellar in Winkin City. With this combining, she'll most likely be monster bait, or maybe a goal for ape ball.
She's skilled at food production.
Bob looks at Bubba, surprised that he could speak.
Yes, well, the third stone will tell us all. Get on with it, girl.
Mina flicks angry eyes at Bob. She's about to speak, but Bubba and Dee Dee clear their throats at the same time in a loud, consumptive racket. Mina and Bob turn to look at them.
Yee-ha!
Mina nods, this coded reminder of the bet she made for a new saddle received. She plunges her hand into the bag, while Bob wonders if whatever disease the off-gridders have is catching. Mina pulls a gold stone from the bag. She looks from the stone to the camera, and she frowns. Bob, Bubba, and Dee Dee stare with blank shock at the gold stone in Mina's hand, while Mina watches her memory of Pater Dick lecturing. He paces back and forth in Bob's office.
There have been 4 gold stone girls in the whole herstory of Blinken. 4 Saints Anka, our great and glorious Night Mare, vanquished the dreaded Alma.
Get to the point, please.
Her memory of Pater Dick frowns at her.
The gold stone girl is sacrificed in reparation for our sins.
Mina's eyes widen in memory.
That's right. I'm to be eaten alive.